What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Progenitor. This is the podcast where we go over a director's entire filmography, talking about themes, scenes, pacing, and give a brief review, all within 30 minutes or less. So let's get started. This next movie, Ridley Scott dives into the Bible. He's telling a Bible story, all right? Guys, you know where we're going with this. It ain't Prince of Egypt. It ain't the Ten Commandments. It is Exodus, Gods and Kings. Now, why it's called Exodus, Gods and Kings, I have no idea. Might as well just call it Exodus or Book of Exodus. Better yet, the Exodus movie. You could have went either one. This movie is still subpar. Now, let's continue. A lot of filming, definitely in Spain, but as you know, he loves working in Morocco. So, boom, there you go. I think the most significant location is where they shot the Red Sea scene, which is on the beach on Fuerteventura, one of the Canary Islands off the northwest coast of Africa. I think that's a very potent, beautiful scene. Okay, so let's get into a brief plot description, which I thought I already did. This is about Moses, Ramses, their relationship, how things go awry when Moses finds out he's actually Jewish and he sees that his people have been oppressed for so long. So he gets exiled, he's in the desert, and God speaks to him. He comes back. He wants Ramses to set his people free. Ramses don't listen. God hardens Ramses' heart. And guess what? You get the plagues. Then guess what? Ramses is like, get the F out of here. Moses gets his people. And they get out as quickly as possible. Ramses has a change of heart, wants to chase them. Everything ends up at the Red Sea. Everyone knows what happens. But in this case, the Red Sea doesn't part. Or it kind of does. A typhoon blows it to the side, basically. But come on. Who creates typhoons? Let's think about that a little bit. Let's not get too religious on this one. I am a Christian, but I have not read Exodus in a while. And I'm basing all of my info on Prince of Egypt and on the Ten Commandments. So, anyways, brief review. Not one of my favorites. Bottom three. I'm just, laying it out for you guys. Is it worth one visit? Yeah, I think so. I definitely think every single Ridley Scott film is worth a visit, is worth a viewing. I don't think his heart was fully in this. If you know anything about Ridley Scott, he's not a very religious person. But throughout his films, you start to see themes crawling in, especially as he gets older. Themes of death, of, just is there a God? Themes of creation. Because it seems like he's more of an agnostic / atheist. But it is what it is. We won't go too deep into that. So, a lot of my qualms with the film is that the acting isn't top notch. The photography is a bit murky. It's very shadowy, dark. There's no rays of sunshine per se throughout the film. And this is a movie about faith, about God, in a sense. It's a movie that has to have hope, and based on the way it's shown or shot, it doesn't seem very hopeful. Like in this case, I wish they had a John Matheson, because definitely we'll get into the cinematographer. We'll get into the cinematographer, but I really would have liked a lot more of the brightness of a John Matheson, the hopeful, larger, epic scale image of a John Matheson. But yeah, let's move on. Cast and crew, film directed by Ridley Scott, of course, produced by Ridley Scott, Peter Chernin, Jenna Topping. Both of them did Ford vs Ferrari. You got Michael Schaefer. He already worked with Ridley on The Martian, and the Counselor. You got Mark Huffam, who did The Northman, Lost City of Z. Then you have a screenplay by Adam Cooper, Bill Collage, Jeffrey Kane, and Steven Zalian. So this is really interesting. Adam Cooper, Billy Collage, they did Assassin's Creed and Allegiant. Both of them fantasy action, right? So you kind of get that perspective here in this film. There's a lot more action than most Bible stories. There's definitely more action than the Ten Commandments and the Prince of Egypt. There's like a whole war scene at the beginning. It's really cool. And I know what it's trying to do is trying to establish a relationship between Moses and Ramses. It's trying to establish a prophecy that needs to be fulfilled where Moses is going to rise above Ramses. So there's these things, and then at the same time, you're looking at the plagues, and then you're looking at the Red Sea parting, right? So that's all a bunch of the fantasy going on. Well, in terms of this film. But then you have Steven Zalian and Jeffrey Kane. So Steven Zalian wrote Irishman, Mission Impossible, on my top 100 of all time. And Jeffrey Kane wrote GoldenEye and The Constant Gardener. And basically, what you're getting from these is colloquialism, modern day language, very straight to the point, very well written, and very humanistic. So you have all these different genres kind of colliding with each other. You have the fantasy, and then you also have the humanistic approach, and they're commingling, which is fine. It works. But sometimes, Assassin's Creed Allegiant, not the best, right? I wish they had someone else a little more proficient. No one is coming to my mind right now, but there's tons of them out there. But yeah, let's just move on. Music by Alberto Iglesias. Pretty good score. I definitely bought it. I didn't buy the CD. I bought it off of Apple iTunes back in the day when they were purchasing it before they had Apple Music. You just had to purchase the album, and because I really liked it, but I've never revisited this score. It's nothing compared to Kingdom of Heaven by Harry Gregson Williams. So I always go back to that in terms of Kingdom of Heaven as a film, as a soundtrack, as a full total package. Now let's go to cinematography. So cinematography by Darius Wolski. I love his films. I love the way he shoots, but it's always a little darker. It's always a little colder. And I think that's the word, colder, right? If we look at All the Money in the World, if we look at the most recent Ridley Scott films, The Last Duel, House of Gucci, they're very, very cold films. I really wish they had more of a nuanced, warm feeling, a feeling of hope that'll come from like the sun rising. But this film is so cold, so dreary, so dark. It takes away from this idea of hope and faith. You know what I mean? So in a sense, I think that's kind of what Ridley Scott was going for, because he wanted to have things a little more factual, a little more nature induced. So we'll get into it because in terms of the pestilence that comes through. So we're going to talk about it for sure, but I really wish there was a little more brightness to it. There's definitely an epic scale. What he's good at, what Darius Wolski is good at, is he is good at epic scale, but he likes to like get deep into the pores of characters. You see everyone's face so clearly. It's 100% digital for sure. Like that's how it feels. But yeah, let's keep going. Production design by Arthur Max. Hey, he's back, guys. Edited by Billy Rich. Now, Billy Rich is new to the Ridley Scott team He previously did Battleship and Ghost in the Shell, which is really strange because you think of Battleship, you think of Ghost in the Shell, you're thinking of sci-fi, fantasy, action, sci-fi action, less fantasy. But let's say sci-fi action, okay? And you're thinking of fast pace, right? You're thinking about energy, but for some reason, this movie feels so slow. And I mean, we're talking about this compared to Prince of Egypt, compared to a 3 hour The Ten Commandments by Cecil DeMille, and this is the slowest one. Man, that says a lot. But anyways, let's move on to the all-star cast. We got Christian Bale, we got Joel Edgerton, John Turturro, Ben Mendelsohn, Ben Kingsley, and a bunch more. None of these guys really give a standout performance, unfortunately. And I love Christian Bale, and I love Joel Edgerton, and I love John Turturro. John Turturro is actually the best part of this film, and he's only in it for like 5-10 minutes. And you have Joel Edgerton closing in as a close second. Ben Mendelsohn is great. He's a great villain. He's done it before. He's a great sympathetic character. For example, Mississippi Grind. He's really nuanced in that. And he's also in Killing Them Softly, which is a really cool gangster film by Andrew Dominic. And, you know, and he just hams it up. Like, he's too good for this. He's too good for hamming a movie up like this. But that's what he's here for. So, and dude, I love Christian Bale. Like, ever since he was Batman, one of my tops. But this movie, not so great. Like, I don't know why I felt like his heart wasn't completely in it. He has all the shouting scenes down, but not all of the heart. And that might be because of the writing. You know what I mean? Maybe they were trying to make it less about hope and faith and more about looking into yourself and then looking at nature and seeing all these things happening but not understanding. You know what I mean? But Joel Edgerton, I love Joel Edgerton. But yeah, like he pretty much hams it up in this film too. Like he's a yeller and he's also like he plays Ramses, so he's like the king. So he's being all big and like I want to build this. Why isn't this done? Like he's trying to be really big, and then at the same time, there's not enough intimate moments to really like sympathize for him. He's actually very two dimensional, which is like the complete opposite of Yul Brynner in the Cecil B. DeMille film, Ten Commandments. And it's just really sad because you have such a nuanced actor. Joel Edgerton has been good for so many years now. Like, freaking Attack of the Clones, he was better than in this film. But I will say, he is having a ball. Like, he is having. If he didn't have a good time in this film, that's his thing. But he looks like he's having a great time. Now, Ridley Scott collaborations: Arthur Max, ninth film; Darius Wolski, third film; Steven Zalian, third film. And I guess I will bring in Michael Schaefer because he produced Counselor and The Martian. So he might have produced other Ridley Scott films. I didn't really pay attention. I should do that. But let's be honest, collaborations with producers, it's different. A lot of them may not be on the artistic side. Some of them may be. But I think since Ridley Scott is the top producer, he really gets a lot of say into these films. Let's move on. Wife's Corner. My wife did not really enjoy this one. She was like, I'd rather watch Prince of Egypt. And she hasn't seen the Ten Commandments. So, hey, that's a 3-hour film with an intermission in between that we might have to partake in. There's definitely a lack of music and singing. Because freaking Prince of Egypt had one of the best soundtracks ever. Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey. There can be miracles when you believe. Yeah, anyways, let's keep going. Let's talk about themes. empowered female characters. Unfortunately, there's not that many empowered female characters in this film. Although in the Bible, there are a lot of empowered female characters, which is very strange. Especially from I think the most empowered female character would be his wife, who kind of tries to stop him, Moses, from leaving. Ramsey's wife is just non-existent, basically. She just like lays around. And then the lady who adopted Moses, she has a pretty good scene. So I can't really say there's an empowered female character. Nature space is a hostile and uncontrollable environment. Yeah. I mean, freaking, there's like a bunch of plagues. That's all nature, you know. On top of that, the Red Sea, it's got a split. That's nature, right? Freaking, this whole movie is about nature, like fighting back. You have alligators that eat people that cause the sea to turn red, and because the sea turns red and there's a bunch of carcasses, then you have a bunch of like bugs coming, and then all of a sudden you got these toads jumping out of the water because they're disgusted with the blood, and then dysentery, and then boils on their bodies, and then boom 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 boom, everything like starts adding up, you know. The only one that doesn't really make sense for like nature in general is like when the firstborn sons are killed, but there's Passover because, you know, you paint your door red with I think the blood of a lamb. And so yeah, that really helped. So yeah, nature space is a hostile and uncontrollable environment. The only way to survive is to adapt. Yeah, ding ding ding. Moses adapts throughout the whole film. First he starts out as an Egyptian, then he adapts and get when he exiles because he wants to live, and then he learns about God, and then he learns he's Jewish. Maybe it's not all in the same order, you know, but definitely he's adapting and he's learning each culture, understanding. So it makes him well rounded. Whereas Ramses is just like sitting up there, like complaining, why aren't we getting things done? Blah, 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 you know? So yeah, age does not mean a thing. Well, yeah, I guess Ramses and Moses are younger than John Turturro's character. John Turturro plays Ramsey's father. He passes away. Spoiler alert, in the first like 15, 20 minutes. So not much of a spoiler alert. And yeah, let's keep going. Do not trust rich people. I'm going to put that with money is coveted. And I'm going to also put that with distrust of authority, because the rich people are the ruling class, like Ramses and the Ben Mendelsohn character. You definitely can't trick that, because the Ben Mendelsohn character is like a little cheat and a freaking dick, and basically gets Moses in trouble, gets Moses exiled. And then while all that is happening, he's just trying to get more power, trying to get more land. And yeah, he's a dick throughout the whole film. And guess what? He's a man of power. And he definitely mistreats like the Jewish people under him and the slaves under him, whoever they may be. And it's the same as Ramses. Ramses is never looking out for the people underneath him, or, you know, the Jewish community. He's looking out for himself. He's looking out for his power, his money, and everyone below him, it doesn't matter. Anyways, let's keep going. Violence don't solve a thing, brains do. Ding ding ding. Throughout the film, that's exactly what Moses is doing. He's not fighting back. He could. There is a little caveat, because every so often he talks to a little boy who in this film is God or an angel or cherubim, and basically he's learning to have faith. But throughout the film, he's kind of shown as a crazier person. And in interviews, Christian Bale even said Moses is crazy. He's like the most violent schizophrenic I've ever done or performed as. And you know, that can be a little off-putting. But yeah, I don't know the exact quotes. They're definitely on Wikipedia. They're definitely on IMDb. You can look them up, but yeah, let's keep going. Happy wife, happy life. Hey, Ramsey's wife is super happy, and this is kind of so she's living it up, right? And then Passover comes, and then her child passes away, unfortunately. So, it's tough to say. It really is. Battle of the Sexes, not so much in this film. Like I said, I guess the only thing is like when Moses' wife is like, "Don't go. We need you here." And then Moses has to go. He just has to go. I think in the Bible he actually takes his entire family back to Egypt, but I have to reread it, so don't quote me on that. Battle of the Sexes, anything else? I can't think of it right now. But guess what? He goes back at the end of the film and everyone's happy. Let's move on. Do not trust robots, androids. Not in this film at all. So you don't have to worry about that. The afterlife, death, God. Yeah, that's in it. God is portrayed by a young little boy. And throughout this film, like for me as a Christian, I saw all the natural things happening as a sign of God, right? But not everyone will see it that way. They'll just see it as, nature taking its course. But at the same time, there are things that, don't normally happen. Like alligators and crocodiles don't just go crazy and start eating people. I mean, I guess they could, but yeah, enough people to fill an entire Nile River with blood. I don't know, man. That's a lot of blood. And of course, yeah, that would definitely lead to a lot of pestilence going through the country. Now, like I said, I'm not a big fan of this film. It's in my bottom 3 of all Ridley Scott films, okay? I'll be honest there. So, when it comes to scenes, it's really hard to pick them out. But what I will say is every single scene with the plagues and how they maneuver through the plagues and what the Egyptians are trying to do, those are fun scenes. And then the final Red Seas. I think it's a typhoon or a hurricane or a tsunami. It's like one of those three. They use that to explain the splitting of the Red Seas, but that scene is amazing, actually. It's super beautiful. So I definitely recommend those particular scenes, but as for character scenes, I can't really say because they're intense, but they're intense to the point where it's like hamming it up sort of. So I can't really recommend it based on performance. But hey, it's up to you guys. I definitely recommend at least one viewing. And if you're like me, I always give films another try, especially if they're by my favorite film directors like Ridley Scott. And yeah, I would definitely give it a shot. Don't expect too much, but like it's not a terrible film. But yeah, it's just there's too many renditions of it. I already listed two, and those are amazing: Ten Commandments and Prince of Egypt. And I feel like those are the only ones you need, guys. But anyways, so all right. Next up, we've got something fun. Now, it is another space odyssey, and it's more like Castaway in space on Mars. I'm sure you guys know where I'm going with this. Next up, we're watching The Martian. Now, I just looked through my letterbox and I can't find it streaming anywhere, but I always recommend either buying it or renting it on Apple iTunes, on Amazon, or you can just buy the Blu-ray DVD. And there's a lot of venues for that. Amazon, Movies Unlimited. So yeah, get a copy, check it out. Great film. We'll talk about it next time. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.